Welcome, everyone, again to another exciting episode of the Culture Society podcast, where we always strive to give you the latest in news, information, entertainment, and discuss topics that just make you ponder, make you think, whet the palates of the mind in hopes that you continue similar conversation amongst yourselves. It's your guy, Marco Glorious, with the Culture Society once again. Who do we have here today?
Hello, Marco. Thanks for the introduction. This is Ayoola, and today we're going to talk about self-hate or self-confidence. We're going to talk about body modification, skin bleaching, and all the things that come underneath that.
Oh, wow. Who else do we have here today?
Oh, boy.
My man.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
what
boy.
a topic for the day.
My guy.
Yes, the one and only Country Time. Mr. Right.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
country
we
time.
And we have a special guest here today.
Yes, we do.
Filling in for Miyanna, a girl that I'm very close to. We've worked on projects in the past. The lovely Melissa Quinones. Tell them about yourself. Hello.
Oh, okay. So I am a former producer of the Hot 97 show called Street Soldiers.
Indeed.
Now I currently work with NBC
Indeed.
on a show called...
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Very excited. Happy to have Melissa here. Can we give her a little applause? Yeah. Yes. And this H2O today has got me feeling good about life.
Is that right?
Indeed. So let's jump into this conversation. I think this is going to be a strong topic today.
Yeah.
Sheesh, body modification. This is something that it can be offensive because there's a lot of people in this day and age that see body modification as, nothing wrong. I mean, I'm sure we all have our opinions, but I'm thinking about people. There's the Kylie Jenners of the world, the Sammy Sosas of the world, the dance hall artist Spice has kind of brought things to life as of late. People want to even throw my man Michael Jackson in this category in this conversation. But I think we're going to touch on all of that today. Ayoola, I know you got a lot to say. You always got a lot to say.
Yes, guys. I've been itching. I must admit, I'm going to be honest. I have had some things nip-tucked in the past.
Wow.
Temporary stuff. I've had...
Wait, hold up. I appreciate your honesty and you just being forthcoming like that. Wow. Okay, go ahead.
So I feel like I do see both sides of the coin, and I would never want to have... any person who've had or considered cosmetic or any type of modification feel bad or down. I know a lot of people who've had facelifts and all that. I've had Botox, and I love it. I've had filler in my face, and I love it. And I have a plastic surgery friends whom I'm like besties, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we have to look at the reasons why some of these people are doing it or the perceived persona of these people, and why are they doing it? Are they doing it for fame, or are they doing it for just to make themselves feel better?
I'm going to say this. I am all for people feeling happier or better about themselves. I'm all for it. But there has to be some sort of recognition in your mind. In my opinion, there has to be some sort of recognition like, okay, I am making this adjustment, enhancement to myself. For what reasons? Is it to make myself feel better? Is it to attract more attention? Is it to go farther in my respective career journey or path?
Yeah.
Now, I feel that oftentimes those lines get blurred.
Very much so.
There's ways to enhance yourselves naturally that will ultimately make you feel better.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I would have to say, like, there are some things that you might want to change about yourself for whatever reasons. Like, maybe you were bullied for a certain thing, or maybe you were bullied because of your skin complexion, or there were certain opportunities that just weren't given to you for whatever reasons. And I remember, like, Lady Gaga had spoke about, basically, like, I think this was like in the movie A Star Was Born or something like that. Mm-hmm. And in that movie, they talked about like how her nose was so long and she wasn't going to be able to make it in this industry. Wow. Like things like that. It's like there's no easy way to kind of adjust this on your own if this is something that you feel is a hindrance towards you for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have to go in and get a little procedure done.
But see, check that out.
Did she get work done?
No, she didn't.
Oh, I don't think
Lady
so.
Gaga has not, but I'm sure that she could relate to that. That's her own story because she, people have said things about her nose, and so it was obvious for her character to have that same sort of insecurity in the movie. I didn't see the movie, but I need to apologize. But I get that. But what's the catch-22 about that is that Lady Gaga has become very successful and has not changed her nose.
Right.
And it makes her recognizable. There was the one actress from Dirty Dancing, and she had a larger nose, and it made her face hers. And then she got a nose job. Nobody knew who she was, and she kind of disappeared.
But that kind of goes to the self-confidence thing, too. Like, how secure are you in yourself to want to say, I'm still going to continue in this journey of whatever industry it is, and I'm still going to break through and make this happen? Or are you going to be the one that's like, the pressures of this is getting to me, and I feel like the only way I can be successful if I get these procedures done?
It's a lot of pressure. Have you ever tried to go to an event, no makeup, looking regular, no edge control, not brushing up your edges, and just go there to feel special? And you stand next to a girl that looks like, I remember, I don't watch the Housewives or the Love and Hip Hops, but I remember watching one of the episodes, and I was like, is that what people look like today?
Hold on, how you say you don't watch and then you say you don't watch?
No, it was on at a family member's house, right?
Okay.
Because I don't have cable.
Oh.
And I don't really believe in it. And I was just like, what? Do they go out in public looking like? They look like Barbie dolls. They look like very manufactured. And if I stood next to that, and that is what the message I'm getting is cool
or beautiful,
I would be like, all right, well, let me just go sit in my apartment because I don't think I can hang with them.
But this is for women that's in the industry.
That's what I'm saying.
You feel like that? That's 100%. How you feel?
You are in the industry.
I'm saying the pressure is there. The pressure is there. So, even to come here and get ready in the morning, I'm just like, okay, we got to slap on his face. We got to and I'm not even in the camera shot that much. So much less somebody who's like full-fledged there.
Question.
Right.
I'm sorry. Even with you having your modifications done that you shared with us.
I don't have the modifications now. That was in June in 2017. So everything is gone. My face moves. This is my natural face.
That stuff, it goes away.
Temporary.
It goes away.
It was temporary.
Botox is something that you have to get
and it was
regularly to keep up with.
So for somebody that's like me that's listening that don't really know how it goes or come, can you explain?
So Botox lasts about 3 months, and it's like teeny tiny needles, and it paralyzes your face muscle. So honestly, everybody on TV, a lot of people on TV, after I got it, I recognized it made me like have that spidey sense and be able to tell she got filler. After you're like 30, the fat in your face starts to melt. Whoa. You start to have it does. That's natural gravity. That's how you can tell like a young person, like after you turn 30, you'd be like, that person 19. You can tell because they have all the fat pads underneath their eyes. Right. So when you watch TV or even in the movies, and you see someone who's in their 40s, 50s, late 30s, and they don't have any bags under their eyes, it's because they're getting filler.
Not because they're eating right out
or getting good sleep.
Like
no, because
or getting good sex.
Naturally,
I'm just saying. Well,
naturally,
good stress relief.
Maybe no. I mean,
and there are a small percentage of people like my family. We tend to look younger. They're small genetically. They tend to look younger. That still doesn't take away the fact that the fat in your face starts to diminish. So for me, I was offered it, and I was like, I'll try it. I'm a curious person.
Peer pressure.
Right.
I'll try it. I'm an open, curious person. Now, would I go under the knife? I don't think I would. I would go under the knife. These were just injections and needles, and they were temporary.
Needles and the melting of the face sounded serious to me. That would scare me.
I don't mind needles. I don't flinch when I get a needle, so it was fine. It was fine. I have a video of it.
I was just about to say, real talk. There's a lot of body modification taking place.
With
in
men
the male gender as well nowadays.
Of course.
A lot of Botox.
And as I say, I'm not against people being happy. But what I'm starting to have a problem with people who act like this has been them.
Yes, that is my problem
Like,
too.
not for nothing, I
But
respect.
if you bought it, it's almost like, listen, I paid for this. It's mine. No, not feeling
Yeah,
that
but
way.
not the same. Not the
Listen,
same.
no, there's so many
Everybody
people.
getting at me right now.
no, I'm
You
not
seen
getting
them
at
gonna
you.
get you sucker, right? Have you seen I'm gonna get you sucker?
Yes.
No.
Have you seen? You have not
that's a
seen.
classic.
Wait,
That's
you
a
have not
classic
seen I'm
movie.
gonna get you sucker?
No, don't look at me like
I can't
that.
It's
remember
something-
it. I probably saw it, but I can't remember.
Scene in the movie was with Keenan Ivory Wayans, who was the
Yes.
star of the movie. He came home with this beautiful girl, and he was about
From
to,
the club.
From the club, and he was about to. He was excited because he was about to get it in.
It's the happy time.
Yes, and she was like, she was so gorgeous, and she was like, hold on one second. They started getting into. She's like, hold on one second. Let me just get a little bit more comfortable. Next thing you know, she takes off her fingernails, and he's like, oh shit. Okay, I still could do it. I
So
still
y'all
could
don't
do
know
it.
fingernails fake?
I'm just saying.
He got past that part.
Okay.
He says,
He
okay,
got
cool.
past
Take
that.
off the fingernails. Cool.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she takes off her hair. He's like, oh, wow, just tosses it away. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know,
hair hat.
next thing you know,
Okay.
the booty pops off, and then one of her legs pop off.
With the sound effects.
With the sound effect.
And my man, and she was there with one leg, ready to get it in with him.
Hopping.
Like,
She had a disability.
listen,
You
but
could have told me that from the jump, mama.
Why do I gotta
Why
tell
do
you that?
exactly at the club? I gotta tell you.
Nothing.
By the way, this ain't
Oh
real.
my
This ain't
God.
real. I'm about to pop
Exactly.
my leg off. You still want to do this?
We gotta do a
God.
questionnaire now.
I'm trying to get you to
bring
the.
that on me,
I'm
though.
kind of with you.
Yeah.
let me
now.
ask you this.
You
Come
go
on,
to the bathroom with
let me-
lingerie on, dumb sex with Marvin Gaye sliding, and you go sliding on one leg.
Yes.
Two
Slide
strands of
right
hair,
in. What's the problem?
no teeth.
Okay, let me-
No
I'm gonna ask
teeth,
you
I
this.
got
no
Let me
slide. I got
ask you
slide
this,
out.
Melissa.
I got slide out.
Let me ask you this,
I gotta
Melissa,
slide
because
out.
there's a lot of people now who are completely different genders than what they were born with.
Yeah.
And now, if you brought home a man and you thought
Oh,
this
my
was
God.
this guy, because there's men out here who are born women.
Yeah.
No shade to them, but you brought home a guy who you found attractive, and you ended up sleeping with him and it was a unit that he wasn't born with, and you find out later on in life that he was actually born a woman. You wouldn't feel upset about that? No type of.
Okay,
Because
so
you're saying,
that-
hey, why would he have to
All
tell
right,
you?
But see, okay.
Golly,
Wait, like there's
Marco.
still a procedure though where you wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
Correct.
That
No,
they
that's
could
what I'm
go
saying.
through or whatever.
But I'm saying you wouldn't
But-
know you had sex. You thought the sex was great.
Right. Okay. So
And
I
then
mean,
how would you feel?
I would. You know what? I don't know.
I would be
Listen,
very
You might need to
I
upset.
sip
know.
that cup right now.
My thing
we
is,
would have to talk about that prior to. I agree with that.
But see, that's
If
the
you
same.
taking
In my
a
opinion, it's the
girl-
same thing.
if you're taking a girl or a guy home
Mm-hmm.
that night and you haven't taken the time to get to know this person, it's on you to blame yourself because you were being superficial. You were being in a
Yeah.
rush. You didn't even give yourself time to
Superficial.
know
Well,
this
they were
person.
also,
Could you go
though.
in on
It's a
visual.
two-way street.
It's a two-way street. So you
Yeah,
have
like,
to
wow.
you have to now take it upon yourself to be like, let's have a conversation. You know, like
Is there anything I need to know?
Is there something I need to know? You know what I mean? Like
How is it
what's going
how do you ask
on?
that in a nice way? Like,
Yo,
what's good?
we're
mama?
living
How
in
you
a
doing?
time period.
That's
one
quality
one
time. That's
though,
cuddle
can I-
time.
You just have to overthink
Can
and
I-
overstand
No,
situations.
You gotta ask her like, can I feel your crotch?
no.
Or
No.
something. How? Because it's legal now that they can change their birth certificate as well. There's
Well,
no way.
yeah.
There's
Well-
no way of knowing, even through the paperwork.
It's,
You
it's
understand?
called cisgender.
So,
do you identify
that is
with?
crazy.
Do you identify with the gender that you were born with? It's called cisgender.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's a more. You have to add.
That's
that,
how you ask.
You have to add
Are
that
you
word.
cisgender?
You have to add that word to your vocabulary. Yes.
Not you looking dead into this camera though. With
Are
this
you
face, I'm
cisgender?
done.
Like, wow.
But see, like, also,
how would you? How would you? See, I'm. Wow.
This is according to the time period. Like there's
this
certain
hurts.
lingo now. that you
Absolutely,
must-
but all depends. It
And
also
it-
depends. You got to look at the geographical location in which the person is brought up in or comes from as well.
That's
Geography
interesting.
has
Now-
nothing to do with it. What do you?
Oh,
What do you mean?
why doesn't it?
What you talking about? Where you were born?
Yes, absolutely.
What does that have to do with anything?
I said the geographical location of where the person is at right now. She says it has a lot to do
Yeah,
with
it's-
time.
in New York
period.
City is definitely
Yes, you
different than
understand?
places down south.
So-
it's more likely to have.
So, because we went into it lingo. You understand?
Okay.
When you
Correct.
go-
You don't
when go
agree,
with lingo,
Ayoola?
I think there are people of variety everywhere.
You have no idea what I was just talking about. I was talking about the lingo and being able to like relate and know how to ask or know how
Well,
to.
if you're
Who?
talking to someone who's trans, most likely they know that conversation, they know that terminology.
But what if he doesn't know the terminology?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's why
You be talking strong, Ayoola.
Okay.
You ready to get at me.
That's why they
Off
listen
the
to
top
the
rope.
podcast right now,
Well, that's all good.
No, because like real talk,
I mean,
I've been to,
we got to educate each other, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I've been to Bangkok, Thailand, right?
Okay.
Bangkok is known for having a lot of transgenders,
They are.
lady boys.
Very
They are.
accepted.
They are.
Do they call them lady boys?
They call them lady boys.
Absolutely.
Now, I was there. I had an event in another part of Thailand, but I was like, I'm in Thailand. Let me go to Bangkok because, it's Bangkok. I want to check it out. So,
Oh my gosh, baby.
and I was there. But like, real talk, I felt like I was able to spot it out. I can see, hey, you
That's a
look like a
lady boy.
woman, but you a man. Looking at the hands.
What if some women just naturally have big hands?
That's real.
My
That's
you know what
real.
I'm saying?
I got
Like
manly
those
looking
features, you can't
hands.
just be like,
real.
That's not the
You're a
only.
man.
That's
Like-
not the only thing that I look. I have a listen.
You got to check
I'm
this?
very good at this shit. I listen. I
you
have a
go.
keen nose.
Keen
Men smell
nose.
different than women.
oh,
To
okay.
me, yes, I smell it. Also, there's also your tone of voice. There's also your approach. Because not for nothing, I'm gonna say this: women, or how do I say this? Men that used to be women.
Okay.
No, wait.
Women,
No, women that used to be men.
That's what time it is
In
now,
my
ladies and gentlemen.
opinion,
It's difficult out here.
Are a little bit more aggressive.
Really?
Hell yeah!
But
Like,
I
hold on,
feel- I
why
don't
you so
know.
freaky right now? You try to give me, I'm good. I don't
No,
Really?
I have to
You can
disagree as well.
You're
exactly.
telling me
Go ahead.
that a woman who used to be a man,
Oh my goodness.
I've had them hit on me.
You've been
Oh my
approached?
goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I'm
never
good. I
mind.
appreciate it, but you're a little aggressive. In my opinion, there are aggressive women out there that were born women.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, most of the time,
I'm sorry, G. They was aggressive.
like I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, I'm walking down the street, and shorties is like doing this to me, showing me, and I'm like,
What that mean, my D?
that means they want to give me a BJ, a blow job.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I remember walking by a store. It was a storefront that said BJ's. And I was like, and there was these girls out there. Some were actual girls. Some were lady boys.
In Bangkok?
Yeah, Bangkok.
Oh, okay.
And some were actual girls. Well, some were born as women, and some were born as men who are now women. And they were out front, and they were like, "Come inside." And I'm like, "What is this? What are y'all selling?" They're like, And I was like, "Wow, I'm good."
So the aggressiveness was in Thailand, not New York.
No, in New York too.
Okay.
But my point was is saying that, like, to piggyback off what Country was saying, is that it's much more likely for somebody to encounter, let's say, somebody who was born something else in Bangkok than it is in New York. Now, New York is still very prevalent.
Yeah.
New York is it's much more likely to encounter that in New York than it is, someplace in the Midwest.
Okay.
Philadelphia has a strong trans community too, and I actually feel really proud of my city when I walk into certain establishments that hire openly trans people, because I think before, I'm not sure what they did for a living. They probably took jobs where they didn't have to be seen. And now you see more people in retail jobs and able to just be themselves.
Yeah.
Whether it's at the lowest level of transformation or the highest level of transformation. I think it makes me kind of feel good that people are being accepted for who they are.
That's dope. I'm all
Yeah.
for people being themselves.
Yeah.
And if you identify with whatever you identify with, that's awesome. But I also think there's a level of transparency when it comes
Agreed.
to, what you share with the world and with people that you might be intimate with. But originally, the topic is body modification.
Yeah.
Stuff like this, like what I was saying earlier about how people, once they enhance themselves in a way that they feel better about themselves, they forget how the trials and tribulations that they used to have before they enhance themselves. And now they're like, a lot of people, I feel, get cocky. They, like, what's it, Kylie Jenner. It is remarkable to me that this girl never had lips. Then she bought some lips.
Yeah.
And now she got a lip line.
She's
Yeah.
And
a
people
billionaire.
Yeah.
Wait. She got a line of fake lips.
She got a line of just cosmetics.
Yeah.
Okay. You said a lip line. She went and got some lips, and now she got a lip
And she
line.
had the suction
I'm thinking she got
thing
a
where they use cupping to
But that went horribly wrong.
What happened?
Yeah, so I'm a massage therapist, so we use cupping therapy. So it's like a form of cupping where you cup your lips and it temporarily plumps them and makes the blood flow come to your lips. So it's temporary lip plumper, and there were just whole. I don't know. I just know that that's not a place that it should be used on.
Right. And what happened was it went terribly wrong because people started doing it at home with like different cups that they had in their house where they were just like, oh, I'm trying to, and then one time I think it was a really bad situation where the glass had broke. Someone was trying to do it.
Yeah.
And then another thing is they did it too much.
Yeah, you can suck on the cup and
it ends up busting your lip open.
Yeah.
But you know what? What people don't realize is that society's standards has really given people a jaded perception of themselves. Like, just because a person may have full lips and you don't, doesn't mean that you're not beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if our society appreciated thin lips, because at one time it did. Our society, this is kind of relatively new. The big lips, the full booty. This is relatively new appreciation.
Well, maybe the look and appreciation for it is new. But the shaming of having full lips or a wide nose is totally different. Like, I'm with people being happy as well. I don't want to steal nobody's joy. You understand me? I am not the thief that come tonight. You understand? But then again, at the same time, I have to look at, why is this making you happy? Or why do you feel this is what making you happy? We have a lot of victims. We have a lot of people who are hurting. We have a lot of people who can't relate. We have a lot of people. We are, as I look around, whether you may agree or not, we all are a member of a disenfranchised group of people.
100%.
You understand? So when we talk about body modifications, skin bleaching and whatnot, the aspect I come from is not from somebody who may be suffering from an illness, something that was born with, some type of sickness that developed from however it may develop, cancer, loss of hair, Michael Jackson, Villago, anybody in that case. In that case might matter. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, as a group of people, it kind of hurts. It's so easy for us to just go along with a trend or a joke instead of looking in to see if this person is really hurting or dealing with an illness. Because so many other people may just take advantage of it for fame or, because they doing it because peer pressure of society or whatever. But there's a horrible other side, flip side to it that we don't explore enough.
I mean, even like when that happens, this is what's supposed to happen though when you go and you do these extreme procedures or you want to make certain changes. There's always supposed to be a psychological evaluation before doing that procedure.
But these cats want to make money.
Yeah, but some of them, yes. Because even if you watch the Love and Hip Hop one where
Spice.
Yeah, when Spice went and she went for a consultation, she was like, listen, this is what I want to do. The woman asked her, like, okay, I would want to do a psychiatric evaluation and see, like, where you are as far as, like, your mental. Why do you actually want to change your entire skin color? And she took it as, that's offensive for you to even ask me that. I'm walking out of here. But that's what's supposed to be the conversation.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of some of these people do need help. These do turn into addictions, as we spoke about before. Like, this is like an ongoing problem. Like, you suffer from different
and to add to that, like when I got the Botox and filler, which I'm okay with being open about, and it's so funny because I told a couple of friends, they're like, oh, that's why you look so young, and I was like, well, it's not in my face right now. So I mean, one, you get the shame of like, oh, well, you're not really naturally pretty, you have it in your face. But I saw that the small micro difference. I looked more awake when I woke up without makeup. My eyebrows were higher. As you age, their eyebrows tend to droop. And I already have lidded eyebrows. But it's addictive. And I literally was like, I got to make this money so I can get this filler in my face so I can get this Botox.
Right.
And that's something that I had to be like, Ayoola, there's nothing wrong with aging. And I look at my parents, I look at my grandmother who's 94 and her face is beautiful. And she took care of her skin and it's not that wrinkled, but what's wrong with age? It's wisdom, you know what I mean?
I'm going to say this. You are a model. you're a massage therapist, but you also are a working model. So in your line of work, I'm not going to hate on on certain things that you may feel you have to do for your brand or for your career, because I'm in entertainment as well, and I see it regularly. A lot of actors, models, entertainers, they, in addition to, I consider myself to be a fit individual. Country, he used to model, I used to model. We both have been in entertainment for a while. I work out as regularly as I do because it's part of my brand. You know, this is the image that I want to put forth. I enjoy it,
right?
But I also, if I wasn't working in entertainment, I probably would not be as fashionable as I am. You know what I'm saying? Like I love hoodies. I probably would be a cat who has a hoodie every day, who's rocking a hoodie. But being that I do work in entertainment and I do certain things, I switch it up because I'm conscious of the public's perception.
Right.
Now, there's levels to it, though. There's levels.
Yes, it is.
How far would you go to do whatever you think you need to do for your brand? But let me ask you this question. Now, the lady, Rachel Dolezal. Rachel Dolezal was the white lady who identified as a black woman for most of her adult life. She was actually a very prevalent member of the NAACP, and people did not...
She was the president.
Was she the president?
Yeah.
Oh, she was the president?
Yes.
Of her chapter.
Of
like
that
the
chapter,
small
yeah.
chapter in where she lived. Yeah.
People didn't know that she was actually born a white woman. Now, and people were in an uproar when they found out that she was a white woman who loved black culture and wanted to be black. Now, that made me think, why were black people or people of color in such an uproar? Because in my opinion, for the longest time, there's been a lot of people of color who have tried to look European.
Or
Why
even
is that?
denied it. Yeah,
yeah,
you gotta
you
look
can't
at the
even-
story underneath it.
Exactly. You can't even put those two in the same category
Why
to
not?
me, in the sense of us as a people. Like, when you want to get into that whole thing,
Yeah,
of,
slavery,
like,
the mentality. People,
yeah, I mean,
of course, all that.
You know what I'm saying? And grouping us into certain things, even where it's like, okay, light skin is better, dark skin isn't.
But let me
Fighting
ask
for
you
different
this.
opportunities, trying to make it that we're equal in this equation.
For her in particular, it does seem a little odd because it's almost backwards, but you have to look at her personal story. She had 4 adopted siblings who were African American. What do you like? You have to put yourself in her shoes. She's the one white person in amongst her siblings. She would want to fit in with her siblings and probably understand the world as they see it.
I didn't know that about her, but
That
okay.
is- yeah, that's part of her
But let me
story.
say this: imitation is they say it's the highest form of flattery.
And the lip thing is flattery.
Like for the longest
I mean,
time.
cultural appropriation.
Yeah,
I mean, this
cultural
whole thing.
appropriation.
Yes, and you're right, because it's like, okay, but it still has been our culture,
Yeah.
and for the longest time, yes, we as black people or people of color have had so much European influence on our minds that we've acted or thought that European culture was better for the longest time. Now, this actual white person thinks that black culture is so dope that I wanted to emulate it.
Right.
And we kind of, you know what I'm saying? I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
That's what I do. I play devil's
like-
advocate.
yeah.
I like that point because I'm trying to figure out where the switch came because I was doing some research and have you guys heard of Sarah Bartman?
I know
She
the
was
name.
she was the slave and she would be on
You're talking
display.
about Hot and Tied.
Oh, okay.
She would be on display at zoo exhibits in European countries.
Oh, I know
yeah.
you're talking
And
about.
she had large genital features. Her labial lips were really extra long, and her butt was
astonishing. I remember. Yeah.
very protruded.
In other words, the body type that's highly sought after.
Right now,
Yeah.
but
Highly
they
sought
treated
after.
her as a caged animal. She was actually considered an oddity
Absolutely.
in her age.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the paintings and art done of her, her legs were smaller, her chest, even her breasts were smaller, but it was just all her butt and her genitalia. And they actually, when she died, before she died, her last owner was a zoologist who researched animals, and they did all kind of research on her, trying to connect the human body with animals.
They did. They did a whole lot on her. I did a study with her in my study group. I got a little group that I mentor back in Harlem. Shout out to 125th Street, to the Conscious Circle, House of Consciousness, Nova and the boys. You can find them across the street from Apollo Theater. Usually when it's not raining outside, you can find any books you need on it. But that's why I also got the documentary on Sarah Baartman as well, Hottentot. Now her body was the actual shape of the continent of Africa. Like, it was shapely like that. And these colonists, these Europeans, was astonished at her shape. Like, if we go back in time, we even see how the white women back in the old days would wear the dresses with make them look like they have the body of the voluptuous queen. You understand? They even made suits like this to be like that. They had in zoos, circus, white men would put out their cigars on her skin, and to see how her skin would change and turn colors. They had a fascination with her dark skin and the way her body, her genetic makeup was. They turned her into a prostitute. You understand? And so, you have to excuse me because I get kind of emotional when I talk about stuff like this, because I can go outside today and see my queens that embody our ancestors and look like little bitty pieces of shapes of Africa, walking around doing the exact same thing that Sarah Baartman was tortured into doing. You understand? We watch these TV shows, these hot and what was it? Bad Girl Club and the Love and Hip Hops and whatnot. Now, me being a country boy now, you understand. I ain't never went to KFC and asked for the skinny breast, you understand me? You understand? So I love a workout, you understand me? But never mind that. I have nothing against her. I love her.
Who you talking about, her?
The Hottentots.
Oh, okay.
You understand me? I have nothing against. I didn't know what a BBW was until I came to New York. They're like, man, nah, that's a BBW. You don't want that, dog. I'm like, what that mean, man? I don't know what you talking about. You need to get back in the weight room, dog. You scared. I don't know what's wrong with you. That's how I felt about it. Yeah. But nothing against those women. But we got to look at what we look at as entertainment, because a lot of the things that we do that we think we need to do to fit in, or to be famous, or to make money, to make ourselves a brand, and we're doing the exact same things. We're going backwards. Yeah. And our kids are watching the same things that entertain us, our children, the future
emulates. That's
emulates.
the thing that see now, like a person like, I mean, I hate to go back to Kylie. I'm not trying to shit on Kylie Jenner, but like, she looks so much different than how she used to look, right? Yeah. Now she has children. Now, your children aren't going to look like how you look now. And as they grow up, they're going to see that they don't necessarily look, like they're the parent who's had these changes.
Well,
that's another reason. Like, personally, I'm going to say this. As I said, I'm all for people being happy, uplifting themselves, enhancing themselves relatively. Now, there's certain things that do turn me off, though, as a man. I will say this. I'm more likely to be with a woman who has had her breasts done than her booty done.
Uh-oh, why was that? Please do it, tell.
I'll tell you. Because, I don't know.
No, because breast augmentation has been around longer, so it's become more acceptable.
No, that's not right for me.
So subconsciously, he's good with that.
I don't think that's it. No, I'm going to say this. I'm a lower region man.
Yeah.
I'm a lower region.
You want it to be real?
So
I want it to be real. I don't have a problem with small chests. I don't have a problem with big chests. I like women ultimately in proportion. And I don't necessarily want a big booty. I don't want a nosotal either. I like nice booties.
Thank you for making that
Wait,
clear,
what
my
was that
brother.
last comment? The NASA.
The NASA tall.
You're supposed to be from the Caribbean, Ayoola.
I don't know what that is.
How you not gonna know? You supposed to be from the
You don't know
Caribbean.
what NASA tall is?
It's
Is that not at all?
Noah Satan. Yeah,
see?
NASA
I picked that up.
I
I
never
picked
heard
that
that
up.
before.
Listen, you're supposed to be Trini to the bone. Anyway, but my point.
Trini Philadelphia.
My point.
Wow.
My point is that like I've been with both, but I've never actually dated a girl who.
You been with a BBW?
Yes.
Gravy off the plate?
Gravy. You mean I'm not as like in a
You gotta tell
relationship?
people what BBW is.
What's that?
So that's an
Tell-
acronym
Yeah.
for.
I learned that here in New York. I don't know. I don't go by that.
It's an
Well, you
acronym. I mean,
said
it's a
Explain
well-known.
Explain it to folks who might
It's
not have heard of
it's
it.
an acronym for big, beautiful woman.
Women.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right? Cool.
There's a
Um,
whole porn genre on it. Actually.
Is it what happened?
There's a whole pornography genre on that.
Yeah.
Wow, we going into
Yeah,
porn
but
now.
let's not. That's not tangent.
You'll always want to go back into porn,
No,
boy.
no. I
No.
think it's disrespectful, but
Step into the
yeah, they're regular
dark
women.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, so like, yeah, for me, if you have had your booty modified, I'm probably gonna pass. But
How do you find
unless-
that out?
I
How
was
do you
gonna
find that
say,
out?
yeah, because some of them you can't tell. Some of them are stiff. You know what I mean? You can't tell that way. But some of them aren't. Like they
They're-
look actual.
okay, so real
Yeah,
talk, I've dated
like that.
girls. They don't think I know, but I
They
know.
had the fat transfer.
No,
it's more realistic.
I've dated
Exactly.
girls who, when I was dating them initially, they were one way, and then I've seen them later down the line, and they've had some modifications done.
They didn't hit the weight room, heavy squats.
Nah,
Yeah, the squats make a difference,
it,
y'all.
it does
Train
make a
right,
difference, but
right.
I know,
Train right, eat right.
I know. So my thing is,
Understood.
being that I knew how she was initially, I could make an exception
Okay.
if I had to go down that route.
Okay.
If I had to. It's not a preference.
Right.
But let's say I've ended up seeing somebody who I used to date and we end up falling back in love or something like that, and I know that she's had some booty modifications done. Being that I knew what it used to be and I was okay with that, I might be more inclined to be okay with it. That's not my preference. Now, if I knew off the gate that somebody who I had met, I find out that she had some booty modifications done, it's going to turn me off more than if I found out she had her breasts done.
What's shocking to me is that it costs less to have your butt modified than your breast modified. And the fat grafting is around $5,000, and the implants is very close. And then the butt lift is actually a little bit more, where they don't really do any implants or inputting. They just kind of adjust the skin and adjust the fat if you've had like a extreme loss.
That makes sense to me, though.
Weight
Yeah.
loss or something like that. But what gets me is like a real good example is K Michelle. She had work done
Hold on,
illegally.
K. Michelle?
K
Leave
Michelle.
K. Michelle alone, man. What you talking
No,
about?
no, no,
No,
no.
her joint-
I'm just talking, speaking.
No.
I'm-
No, that booty was fake.
Whoa, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't
The booty
do
was
that.
fake.
Wait, stop.
I like
you
K.
didn't
Michelle.
know? You didn't know?
She
Nah,
has
he knew.
severe
He hear
medical
consciousness.
issues
Yeah,
because of
and
that.
what gets me is a lot of girls aren't doing the research, and so
whack.
K Michelle had
That
serious
is so whack.
necrosis, which means there's
So what happened?
That
actually
sounds scary.
necrosis is cell death. So
Cell death?
in a percentage of people who get any kind of surgery, their body has a very hard time healing from it. It can be from a breast lift. It can be just from men get it for gynecomastia or any type of surgical procedure. There's a percentage of people there. I think it's like 5 to 8% of people that will get necrosis. So K Michelle happened to be in one of those percentile. Also, which she did not go with a licensed professional. She got a basement job done. And
It was a basement job?
it was a basement job. So she had pellets put in, and I'm not sure if they were
Pellets. My man Idris used to hit that.
actual real.
Idris.
It was out. What did he?
That was his girl for a minute.
Oh yeah.
You ain't
she
know
did
that?
it. No. I remember the interview. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
No, we gotta let him know. Idris, yo, he's the sexiest man alive right now.
I
girl-
got nothing to do with
The
that.
girls who get it, like Cardi B, admitted she paid $800 for her butt.
But she didn't have any issues.
She didn't
you
in the
know what I
basement,
mean?
and she didn't have any issues. But we
Yeah.
don't know right now. We
Right.
don't know what's going to happen down the road because what is actually in her body.
And
Yeah.
you know what?
You
To
know?
say something you said that is kind of cheap, like, but a lot of females, like regular people, not people in the industry that have
Now that's some different
money, and but still getting basement jobs, going this, that, thing, they having problems. I'm later for them. They can take care of themselves. Let's talk about all the misguided people that's looking up to the fallen stars.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying? Following them straight to shit. You understand? Now these people are dying. Put in, what was it like? Caulk? You sealed the side of the wall in your apartment. She had that in her. Somebody else had motor oil.
Yeah,
cement. You know what I'm saying?
The person
cement and cement.
The person who did Cardi B surgery is in jail.
That's why I'm like, kudos to any man who would sit there and stare a queen in the face and go to bat with her, with her being beautiful naturally, just the way she is, regardless if she cuss you out, you don't give you no play, you don't make it to the second, third base. I don't care, because that's not what's important.
Yeah,
you understand?
Listen, but Shorty, you're beautiful, but let's not also forget.
Hats off to you. I salute you, kings.
Let's not forget though. There's a lot of kings out here who getting who
they
got
pushing the like button on them pictures.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm about to say
I'm so sorry, but they're not kings. We're not gonna call them kings.
That's why I said kings.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But my thing is, there's a lot of dudes out here now who lost their hair a long time ago.
I was about to
and
say.
got the full cornrows strong.
Yeah, not even that. Like
the lace front cornrows, fam.
Absolutely.
They got the beards.
I haven't seen a man with it. Have you?
It's on Instagram.
Yeah, it's on
I know
Instagram.
it's Instagram, but I haven't seen a man.
You probably didn't know because y'all don't care.
I look at the
Y'all
videos.
both said that you don't want
Absolutely.
to know. Like she shouldn't have to divulge that information.
Listen, I was actually gonna say, like, would a man with a no hairline that got it filled in at the barbershop come to me like
that's the wig.
Exactly. Like, this is not mine, by the way. So when we get in the shower, this is about to all wash off.
But if you found out, then it would, like you just said, if it was a lady, why should she divulge that information? If y'all. You know what I'm saying?
But I feel like as women, though, I don't feel like we're that judgmental when it comes to... Wait. When it comes to like a receding hairline of a man, we're not going to be like, oh, play, your hairline game ain't strong. Like, we're not talking.
It's
like,
a certain kind of woman.
No, you ain't going to say that. You're not going to say that, but you're just going to not pick up... You're going to ghost the nigga. You ain't going to pick up the calls no more.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know.
But if you fill that in, you know what I'm saying, and it looks right, and it doesn't look crazy... I'm like, okay, like, you know, maybe we can shave it all off. Maybe you look good, bald. We'll find some alternatives because we riding with you.
It's okay.
Y'all be looking at appearances first and then decide later what it is you want to do.
And tell you that your pinky toe wrong with your pinky toe.
There are some men that be looking at...
Thank you for the sum.
Okay, I'll say some because I don't know about y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Now,
you should know.
I don't know.
Ask me, Melissa Q.
You strike me as a little superficial and like have these body modifications. Like, oh, okay.
Ask me the question though.
Are you
I strike you, but no. What do you want to know?
Okay, so are you a superficial guy? Like, does appearance mean a lot to you when dating a woman?
I want to be attracted to the person that I'm dating.
Appearance means a lot.
No. Now, what I find attractive, I just said, I'm not into women who have their booty done or this is my thing. I like women who are, I'm going to let y'all know. I'm single. I'm going to let y'all know. I like women who are fit and curvy. That is my thing.
Exactly. Now, what if there's a girl that's trying to get with you and she's like, I know Marco likes girls that are fit and curvy, so I might want to get some stuff done to attract him.
Why? You don't have to get stuff done to be fit and curvy.
But a lot of women, though, will go get procedures done because of what they think men want to see has been shown towards us.
Yeah,
it's like, look, this is what they like.
Hey, but listen to what I'm saying. Because it's like if the guy says, Marco says, I like fit and curvy. That means you actually should try to live a fit lifestyle.
Okay. No, I don't think anyone should adapt their bodies to anybody's perception.
No. That's if you are trying, like,
your own perception.
No. If
I want to get work done, it's for me. And when I wake up in the morning, I'll be like, oh, I look great naked.
Correct. But if there's a girl who I know, if I'm crushing on a girl, like this is like when you're younger, and you say, okay, this girl, I know that she likes this type of guy. When guys are young, I'm gonna put my best foot forward. Oh, you like intellectual men? Well, let me let you know, girl. I read this. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
You're gonna put your best foot forward if you're trying to establish something with an individual. Right. It may not work. It may work.
Okay.
Right. That's all I'm saying. You should never do.
The truth but the surface though.
Yeah.
Because I've dated the guys who are like, oh, I'm gonna read books while I'm with you, and I'm like, your ass don't read.
Exactly. So you're gonna stop eventually.
Yeah. Like in 4 weeks, the book is not completed, and It's okay though.
Well, hold on, wait. I gotta go back to Melissa because you said you think I'm superficial.
Yeah, that was strong.
And
That
I
was
know
strong.
Melissa.
That was strong.
So
That was
no,
strong.
and you've actually met my ex.
Uh-oh.
Oh, how you know?
Uh-oh.
What do you mean? How I know?
Oh, no.
Because you wasn't at the dinner. You wasn't
Oh,
there
my
when I met
God.
her.
That was a dinner.
She
wasn't
came
there.
to our last project.
Oh, I didn't meet her there though officially.
Oh.
So that's why I was like, oh. Anyways,
Oh, you see what I'm saying?
Wait, what does that look
what
like?
was at the dinner?
she's very pretty. His ex is very pretty.
yeah.
Curvy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Curvy and
nice
fit?
body. Yes, curvy and fit. Great personality too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I'm sorry, crunching on the ice. But
I'm just
anyway.
saying. So based off of that, I guess what you saw of her, and you knew that was my ex. So that makes me a superficial man.
We're not even. Listen, I don't want to like base it off of this one person that may hear
But
this.
Marco,
I may do because it's
but
very
no,
important. Why would some? Okay,
Right.
what do you think?
I'm gonna support you, Marco, because just like the bird, what is it? The bird of paradise, you know, is a very beautiful bird. The males like have really big, beautiful feathers. They flash it to attract
I
women.
never heard of this bird.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful bird.
Okay, what the hell we about to say here?
We're talking about primitive stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think being
You
attractive.
called me a bird?
No.
A beautiful bird.
I am
big
saying,
feathers.
Marco, I'm trying to be on your side.
Okay,
like,
I'm up for
I
it.
think in this world, it's
Oh, the
okay to try to present yourself in a way that
Yes.
meets your own standards for attracting the opposite sex. So I think when women modify their bodies, they're just trying to flaunt their feathers to attract something that they feel is going to, approach them.
Listen,
Right,
I'm gonna
Whatever.
even like, okay, so with your ex, for example, like she has a nice figure, but there's also substance to her too. Like
Okay.
she's a lawyer. You
Right.
know what I'm
So
saying?
then why would I be
so
superficial?
there's another, I'm talking
See,
about
I'm-
your initial appearance or perspective on someone
I've
first.
had this
It's
about me
not
my whole
like-
life.
It's not like you're going into it like already knowing, like as soon as you're meeting her, like, oh, she's
Right.
this, and this.
Yeah.
Maybe you do know this person from wherever or know the background. But initially, what attracts you first? You
Is
know what
the
I'm saying? Are these
appearance.
things. And I'm saying the reason why people get these body modifications or even like when it comes to skin bleaching, you know what I'm saying? They do this because there's a complex that they're dealing with.
And I think
some of it stems from you growing up and being told you're not the prettiest person. Or sometimes your mom, if you have siblings, they have favorites. They play towards certain people.
Yeah.
Sometimes your parents give you these.
Subliminal.
Yeah.
When you say you, who are you talking about? People in general, everybody?
A person.
No,
yeah.
I'm talking about like in general. Like
Listen, you
there's
need to
some
drink
people
more of your
that
water.
Can I
that
comment?
grow up with
Can
that.
I comment? I think also on a larger perspective, the Western society is very superficial. When you start to look at British TV, you realize like a lot of actors don't have straight teeth. They have wrinkles. They look their age.
Yeah.
And it's a certain perspective that American TV, you will find someone who's attractive and acting, and their acting skills are horrible.
Okay,
but
well,
they got
look,
that part because of their looks. And then you look at British TV, and they're the best actors. They didn't get braces when they were young. Their teeth might be a little yellow and crooked. They look aged, and they have great skills. So I think it's something to do with our society, and I don't know why it's so persistent in American society, and I don't like it.
I know why.
So, being that you just said that, right? Being that you just said that, your last comment, it sounds like you could be saying,
I'm just
if she's doing X, Y, and Z to be pretty, to approach this one and that one, and but it's also you also very aware of the influence and what is really going on, like what is really
at the
like
society
like
at large, yeah.
Absolutely.
But
So
at the same time,
how can you look at it like you just trying to be, like it's an innocence to it?
I don't think there's an innocence to it. I think there's a thoughtfulness to it, and in our society,
Thoughtfulness or thoughtlessness?
There's some thought that goes into women and what they do and the makeup they buy and the way they choose to wear their hair. It takes thought. It takes thought, and it actually takes a lot of effort.
It takes effort on both
I'm not
sides.
talking
more
about
effort.
that. Like, duh.
It takes-
Of course, you got to think about what kind of come on now, really, for real. Hey, look how extensive and complex.
No, you're saying
Mac
thoughtless.
is.
You're
Yeah.
I'm talking
about thoughtless.
I'm talking about the reason. Therefore, you're doing it. That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand what
Not
you're
the process
saying.
of doing it.
I think a lot of people that get these procedures done have that mindfulness of why they're doing it, even though it could be something that's like deeply rooted that they haven't discovered
like
yet.
an insecurity.
Right, like an insecurity, or they've been told X, Y, and Z in their past, and words carry on, and they just kept that
Give
with
us
them
an
through
example.
the process.
Like blackie. Like blackie is a word that a lot of dark-skinned children are called, and it's
Right.
like it's supposed to be like an endearing teasing.
Yeah.
And my grandmom even tells me about my uncle getting called blackie, and her trying to figure out how to tell him, well, you know, we have this thing called it's this like molasses-based sweet in Trinidad.
What's it called?
Shit, I'm going blank. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But it's like molasses and coconut, and it's tulum. It's called tulum.
Okay.
Tulum is black, but it's the sweetest because it's the sweetest part of the molasses after you boil it down.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling my uncle that you're like Tulum. Don't you know you're sweet? Go tell them that you're sweet. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so she's trying to reverse it to give my uncle confidence because he's dark. Now, in reality, in Trinidad, my uncle is dark skinned because the sun is we're near the equator. The sun is really, really strong there. When you come to America, you're not so dark anymore. You know what I mean? It's just about your tan. Your tan really extreme.
Where you're located.
Yeah, but blackie, you're told. I think I wrote down another one that it's just the colorism. You're told that light is better. So
Right.
the lightest person in the family, in a lot of the islands, if you're light and you're in the island still, you must be real light.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving the scholarship to school. You're the one that's going to propel our family into out of poverty and things like that.
Right. And like even like there was an article that I read with someone, a girl that grew up in Jamaica. So even there, like she as a child, her parents were giving her these lightening creams, lotions, scrubs, everything. She didn't know that she was intentionally lightening her skin. She was just given these products as a child because she's like, this
That's
is what I've been
different.
told to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's
then
different.
when she started getting more into religion, she started realizing, okay, now I have an understanding as an adult what has been given to me my whole childhood, and kind of been like putting in my mindset that my skin complexion is not right.
Yeah.
So when she got older, now she's like, wait a minute, I'm going to step back from these products and I'm not going to use this anymore.
That's unfortunate. I'm
Also,
sorry.
yeah. Also, culturally, too. Like, I'm half Puerto Rican and my mom is African American.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So,
Rice and beans.
even dealing with those two cultures as well, like coming up with a parent that is African American and a father that's Puerto Rican, his family is more so on the fair side. So when it dealt with that, like my mom was the first black person that was ever introduced to that side of the family. So there were so many things that she had to deal with to break into that family and to even kind of somewhat be accepted into that.
But that's so crazy to me
So-
because like there's like okay, like, with the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's real bad.
No, because-
and there's
no.
so many negative names.
It sucks
Right.
because essentially, no offense to Puerto Ricans or Dominicans, but essentially Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are the same mix. Taíno, Spaniard, and African. And they argue about, yeah, you might have more of the Spaniard, you might have the more of the Taíno, or you might have the more of the African. But it sucks because an individual like Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Now, Sammy Sosa, for all intensive purposes, was
Like your complexion.
it was yeah.
Yeah, very close.
Close, yeah, and also a successful man of color. He was already successful, and he was a home run king. And then afterwards, he decided this stuff was in his mind for a long time,
Where
and
that
When
he-
he could
part of
actually
his
afford to
success
do it.
journey,
Yeah, he could
you know?
actually
which
afford
is
to do
crazy to me.
it.
Now,
Did he discolor his eyes too? 'Cause
Yeah,
it
he
looked-
did.
He looks
Wow.
crazy. He looks really
Yeah.
crazy.
He has
Now-
like blue eyes.
Yeah.
it sucks because people also incorporate like Michael Jackson in the same conversation with Sammy Sosa. Now,
Because it's easy. It doesn't take a lot of thought. You don't have to
Michael
really research or
definitely,
read it.
yeah, you're right. Michael had a condition, vitiligo.
Right.
And now people don't realize with a condition like that, I forget the model who, was it Winnie?
Yeah.
Winnie, yeah.
But
But like,
Harlow.
I believe that Michael had more lighter patches on his skin, and what was the easiest to transition
The
to
progression
Yeah.
of it
was
yeah.
that, which is what he decided to do.
Right.
Now, Michael still called himself a black man. He, and I personally take offense when people incorporate Michael into a conversation with Sammy Sosa.
But Michael also had several layers of issues, and I think it became
Yeah.
somewhat of an addiction. His brand, his persona of himself, it just became so big, and it's almost tragic because he's seen as such a talent.
Did you see the interview with him and with Oprah? You can look it up.
The old one?
Yeah, where Oprah is like, well, Michael, people are saying that you're ashamed of being black because you're doing any things to yourself, this, that, and that, yada, yada. Michael was like, what? That's silly. Why would I be ashamed of being black? Are you serious? I'm a black man. I know that, and I'm proud of it. I am sick. I have a sickness.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy for us to like just cast stuff off to the side, you know, and take jokes and whatnot. Because if we just research, you can ask Siri basically nowadays anything you don't know or you don't have it.
Yeah.
Where Christmas come from? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anything actually. But you also know that there's actually studies. Well, one of my favorite queens, Dr. Cress Welsing, a psychiatrist. She passed. She had this, her dissertation was Cress theory. She also had this book called The ISIS Papers, right? And she explained the color confrontation. You understand why it was very important to get people who are considered or categorized as black to hate themselves and to separate themselves and to be separated. Also,
White imperialism.
what they would consider a great man, Mr. William Lynch, had this great idea of the great way of breaking the slave.
Because you was talking about the gene dominancy, right? It, like when colonization happened, white people would intermix with the race of the islands, and mind you, most of the planet is colored. So when they realized that they would go in and intermix with the women, that their children were no longer white. That's when racism and this.
Well, it started way before that.
Yeah.
It started back in like the 1400s with the Spanish Inquisition. That started based off of religion and not being able to tell how to separate people based off of a religion. So if you're Jewish and we have a strong Christian thing going on within the Spanish Inquisition, I'm trying to make Jewish people turn into Christians.
Absolutely.
So that was like the most massive way that they can do that and has been done in history. Then when they found out that people were starting to like revolt that,
you mean
and
through
a lot
rape?
of no, just like as far as trying to, they would kill them. They would try and kill anyone that did not want to conform into being Christian.
Christianity.
So because a lot of people started to revolt against that, a lot of Jews were just like, listen, like, no, I want to stay with this. When that happened, they realized we can't really tell who's Jewish and who's Christian. So because we can't tell, now we're going to go based off of skin color. So whoever is closer to what we call the superior race or whatever is going to be looked at in a different way. You're still going to have some hurdles, but it's probably not going to be as bad as this. So it was more of a separation to be able to tell, like, oh, this is how we know for a fact, you know? And then later on, that's when everything else started to come into place, where it's white imperialism, where now it's a separation, like you mentioned.
I think they also impacted the garb, too, because if you look at Jewish garb and Muslim garb, I listened somewhere that they started to have a uniform. Like, I need to be able to identify you as a Jewish woman or as a Muslim woman. And if you look at the hair coverings and the long skirts, they're very similar. And I know Muslim and Jewish people do not want to be compared to each other, but it happened around the same time, whereas like even Catholic women had to be able to be identified based on their clothing.
Right.
But that's off topic. Sorry.
Now, to go back a little bit, to bring it back, like when you said most people that inhabited the planet China was mostly black, like they don't teach it anymore, like continental drift and Pangea and stuff like that. They don't teach the in the beginning. If you want to if you want to break it down like
Tigris
that.
and Euphrates rivers.
Absolutely. So because you have to explain a whole lot of missing things of why that happened, why is that like that, how did I get like that? You understand? Now, I love her, and she has many books. You know, the ISIS Papers, the Cress Theory. Color confrontation, and then later on, is also diagnosed like skin bleaching as a mental illness.
Yeah.
As an actual illness that it says women of color like pathologically like.
Did y'all see that documentary?
Wants the lighter skin.
It's bad.
You understand?
But it's a big industry.
It's bad.
I was
It's a
gonna
billion-dollar
say,
industry.
$1 billion industry, and also a lot of people, even in a lot of countries too, it's illegal. You know what I'm saying?
In
Certain
Yes,
things are
they
Europe,
made
and a lot of
it
countries in
illegal. They
Europe,
made it
yeah.
illegal.
What
They made it
countries?
illegal.
What, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
The UK made it illegal. Yeah,
But it's like there's
Really?
still
That
some
doesn't make
over
any
the counter
sense to me.
because of the
It's
things that
crazy.
are inside of
it's a
these.
carcinogenic.
crazy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
hydroquinone
Crazy.
can be carcinogenic, and it's so funny because I use it when I have breakouts because of my complexion.
Yeah.
My skin gets really dark, and the whatever darkness stays for like a year. So unless I tan, which I like to tan in the summer. I don't have a problem with my skin complexion, but I do prefer my skin to look smooth. So I use it when I get a pimple to like make sure my skin looks even. But there are people who are taking it farther. They're putting all over their bodies. And whenever you visit Jamaica, it's hot as hell, and you see a lot of people wearing long sleeves. And it's
Yes.
because they either are using the bleaching cream, so they don't want their skin to get dark. They're wearing big hats, covered up, or
Even
they just
Asia.
don't want to. They don't want to get darker. A lot of Asian and
Yeah.
Indian people hate the sun. You know?
So, for example, there's even something too that says there's 40% of Chinese women that regularly use lightening creams.
Wow.
There's 61% in India and 77% in Nigeria that use it.
Nigeria. Let's not forget about Vibes Cartel. You know, y'all know the artist.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Vibes.
He made it popular. Yeah.
He's a few shades lighter
Yeah.
than he used to be, and people recognize Vibes Cartel as being right now the king of dancehall.
Yeah, he's been a king of
Yeah.
dancehall for a long time. He even said in a lot of his interviews that a lot of women around there wouldn't even talk to you unless you're browning. They don't even call it bleaching; it's called browning.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's
That is
actual
the word.
Yeah.
term, an urban term, and it's something that if you are browning, all the girls want you.
Right.
Which is what-
the
which
goal
is-
they're aspired to is to be close to Beyonce, which is this like, I don't know, this golden lightish color tone. And I actually know someone who's Jamaican, and she's light. Like when I met her a few years ago, she was light. She had a great complexion, and now her face is pink and white, and the rest of her is light. And I was just like, why would she do this to herself?
Which is why I understand why the girl Spice. I think that for the most part, I think it was more for publicity than anything else.
I think it was performance art, actually. I think she's
Okay,
a
I can
really
see that.
intelligent woman.
I don't think she
Yeah.
was actually wanted to be the white, or I don't think I don't know her, but I don't think that she was actually trying to be white.
The reggae artist?
Yeah.
The reggae
Yeah.
artist.
The album that she dropped after that was with Black Hypocrisy, and she actually speaks about empowering women to like embrace their brownness.
I think also, her being on a television show, like it's a produced situation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but to that extent?
But it's a positive.
100%.
Money.
Yeah, to that extent, to get viewers and to watch.
I'm not
And
surprised.
for us to be talking about it.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
us. They look like us, and they're doing it for money. I'm not surprised.
No,
with
no, no,
anything
no.
they're
I
doing.
mean,
Her
well-
intention was to make a statement in the sense of bringing light to skin bleaching. I think people took it as the superficial message, but her thing was, look how controversial it is. There's so much pressure for women to look lighter and to be accepted, but it's wrong because she did come out with music after that. I think you have to we're not delving.
You don't watch
deep
Love and
into
Hip
the
Hop though,
message.
so like they've
I don't
seen.
watch,
So let me tell you
but
something.
I listened to her music after that, and she did have music that portrayed the
Correct.
positive.
But in the actual show, she
Yeah.
came across slightly ignorant.
Yeah. Really?
But my point is, you got to keep in mind, I work
Did
in
she-
television.
Did she come
Yeah.
across that, or did the producers
That's
show
what I'm
her
saying.
as that?
I work in television, so
Yeah.
when stuff is produced a certain way, and they tell you,
persona.
this
But
is
this
what we
is the-
want from you. This is what we want the viewers to think. Are you going to go along with that? So this is what they'll tell you exactly what to say. They'll create the whole scenario.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So I don't know her personally. I would love to have her on.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Spice, if you're listening. But I do think that underlying, she was really just trying to bring attention to colorism amongst people of color.
Especially in Jamaica, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, because even like we talked about before, them doing this as children, not even knowing what you're putting on your skin as a child.
What's the
And
Rob?
then
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. What's his name? Rob Kardashian. What his baby mother? Didn't she?
Black China.
Black
Yeah,
China.
Did she get
She
signed
wanted
to some
skin-
skin bleaching line or
yeah,
something
she
like that?
did.
And,
Did she
That
just
stuff
sign
is
with one?
expensive too.
yeah, man.
How you know?
I looked it up because I was researching this before we even chose it as a topic. I'm intrigued by it.
See, Black China, though, in my opinion, like, I mean, as I said, I don't know her either.
She's beautiful in her natural.
I don't know what natural.
Natural.
Really natural.
Her natural skin is like nice dark chocolate.
I've never seen
dark chocolate.
Nice dark chocolate.
She's dark.
Yeah, she's like that's why they call her Black China because her features are almost Asian, but she's dark.
I've always looked at her, thought she was a light-skinned woman. She's not darker than you.
Probably not anymore.
Wait. So you're saying Black China used to be dark? Because she's not dark now.
I think the skin lightening made her maybe like slightly lighter than.
She's always been light. Let me pull her up.
No, she hasn't. She was dark. She was dark.
I've never seen Black China dark.
Nah, she used to be.
But even other like people too. Like we didn't even speak about Little Kim and that whole thing. You know what I mean? There was a minute where she wasn't in the limelight, and then all of a sudden she popped back up.
She reminds me of Michael Jackson in the sense she has the extreme nose job. And the very, and
she had a couple of jobs.
Yeah,
like she changed like a Power Ranger. Like she just switched up.
I'm looking at Black China. I've never seen a picture of Black China as a dark skinned woman.
Well,
I didn't even the effects of the skin bleaching is crazy too. Like there's skin thinning.
Would you call that self confidence or self hate? What would you say? What would you call?
I think it's initially self hate, and then somewhere down the line, it's a false sense of confidence that people get.
I think there's a continuum. I think there's fluffing your feathers. Mm-hmm. I think working out is fluffing your feathers because you could not work out and be the body that God gave you without going to the gym. You know what I mean?
Wait. See, I don't know about that. God,
I mean, it's a natural way of doing it, but it's still fluffing your feathers.
If you work in construction, your body type is going to be different than a person who is an accountant.
But if
God gave you both bodies.
But if you're not a construction worker, why is your body? You know what I mean? You're working to get a certain aesthetic.
If you played football now you're an accountant, your body type is going to be different. Like if you played football in high school, I don't know about that. I don't think working out is
I'm not coming at people who work out. My boyfriend is a bodybuilder, but you're working towards a certain aesthetic. It's fluffing your feathers.
Bodybuilding is something different.
That's fluffing.
It's a
bodybuilding
aesthetic.
Is something different.
That's really
Me doing
fluffing.
squats, I'm doing it for a goal. It's a certain aesthetic. I want my legs to be thicker. I want my butt to be perkier.
That might be you.
There's a certain my point was
overall working out doesn't necessarily like a person who I like to have a fit lifestyle. Yeah.
Same here.
Okay, but you just said that working out, doing squats there's a goal for that particular. There's some women that go to the gym and all they do is squats. And it's like, okay, you're here for that. That's not necessarily your mindset is not
here for the glutes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's fluffing.
But I'm saying there's a continuum. There's a continuum because there's a putting on lotion on your skin, and then there's the extreme version of it, and then there's the underlying reason why there are a lot of women, no matter what race, who are in TV, and like you said, because they have to maintain their brand, they want to look fresh face on TV, and to me it makes sense for that person because it is part of their job to look fresh face, to look appealing. Mm-hmm.
I feel like, wow, okay, I work out. I love to exercise. Mm-hmm. I'm a martial artist. It's my lifestyle. I wrestle. That's my lifestyle, not for particular anything. And also, I would love to live longer. You know, I would love to
live as long as possible.
As long as possible. So I admit I would not eat certain things. I would not eat at certain times because I know the body doesn't digest food at certain times. Right. So if I may eat something else that may be a little acidic to eat away at the fatty tissues while I sleep because I'm lazy, I probably didn't want to do crunches the next morning or something like that. Yeah. But then we also have the people who do the things that are unhealthy and not good for us that comes from nothing but derives from slavery and passed down as traditions, and then those who are maybe in positions of authority or have platforms that speak about stuff, you may not be as wise or hip to things, you may be ignorant to certain things, so if we not take it as serious, or you may not be able to see the underlying issue or the thing that's been socially engineered and placed there and put there for so long. Like little girls, ever since y'all babies, since I can remember, there was no Disney cartoon that showed you falling in love with the image of your father I showed you falling in love with the image of your brother. Hell, sometimes your brother didn't even exist. So imagine how he felt. But we're not even going to that. We're not going to get into that. Like,
I'm trying to think.
It's
Can I have that water, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
You
have
ain't
all
drinking.
the water you want.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's really deep, and I think it is a continuum because as we get older, our elders are responsible for passing down messages, right, to the children, to helping out the future. You have to plant seeds, whether we want to hear it or not, whether we agree or not. You understand? No child that is sick want to take medicine. Believe me, I know I got medicine spit in my face before I got here.
You got medicine spit in your face?
Before I got here,
baby?
sick.
Oh,
baby.
okay. I'm like, wait, what happened to you on the train, son? I'm like,
Oh no, I'm still here, right?
my fault.
Nah, that's crazy. But no, I feel like we need to start shining light on these issues. I feel like a lot of us, especially I would say African American women, my queens, who I love, shy away from these things and will use a lot of other things as crutches or umbrella to not talk about the real reason of why you're doing it.
Right.
Let's talk about the small ways in which our community talks about our children, because it does start from a young age. And I think there's so much commentary on like when you get dark. Like when I tan, I look like a whole different person. I'm a different person because my complexion gets 10 times darker, and I love it because I finally am all the same color. You know what I mean? My knuckles, my knees, they're all dark. But then you say, oh, you get black, and you're darky, or get out of the sun, put on a hat. You don't want to get dark. You're like subliminally telling children when they just want to play on the beach. You know what I mean? That there's something wrong with the sun and getting dark when it's actually beneficial.
Yeah. I agree though. I think that that there just has to be there just has to be more conversations on the matter. But also going back to like, is this self-love or self-hate in terms of that, or self-confidence or self-hate? Like, I think it could be a combination of both depending on your intention of what you're doing or what you're trying to do. Like, where's your mindset within it? Like, are you trying to change the color of your skin because you feel like you need to for whatever reasons? Like, oh, I've been told this, I don't feel beautiful in this skin complexion, so I'm trying to change it. Then in that case, I view that as a self-hate thing. Absolutely. You know what I mean? But if you're doing it for another reason, because there is an illness, there is a disease that you have, and you're just trying to even it out because you don't feel comfortable, it's like it can go different ways.
Yeah, that's a small.
How you enhance it.
I feel like that's a very, very small percentage of that.
Yeah, there is a very small percentage of that. But then you can even go too, because like Winnie Harlow, like she's completely embraced that and has the ultimate self-confidence with whatever she has going on. You know what I mean? But someone else takes that and is like, oh, I don't like this, I have to change that. So that can also be viewed as self-hate as well. Or not having confidence like that. It's
going to take a long amount of time because it's taken hundreds of years for us to have the views that we have now about. So this is something that, now we're having conversations about it. We're starting to talk about it. But, hopefully it doesn't take as long as the, in my opinion, this ignorant mentality that's prevalent now. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. But us having these conversations, hey, it's good to feel good about yourself. It's good to want to enhance yourselves naturally. It's good if you can have a procedure that'll make you feel happy.
Right.
Okay, but keep that in mind. Like you did this to feel better about yourself, but that necessarily isn't going to make you a happy person.
Yeah.
You got to keep these things in mind. Don't totally flip the script once you get whatever enhancement that you wanted done and act like you are better than people now, or now that you are the voice to speak to when it comes to this is the shit that pisses me off right here. I'm about to say some shit. The women that get these body modifications done and now they are a fitness guru.
Yes! That bothers me.
Yeah.
I said something about that on my Instagram.
That's like marketing.
Listen, I would admit to everything that I've gotten done because I'm proud of who I am and I'm okay because I'm a confident person.
Right.
You telling me that I look like this in this picture or my face today is this because of the work that I've gotten done? I'm like, no, that was in the past. It was 2 years ago or more. But when you go to the gym, you first of all you get lipo and you get your butt done, and then you start going to the gym and acting like them squats and them abs.
Be posting on the gram.
It gives a fake perception to young girls.
I hate that.
When they go to the gym, they're not going to get the same results because you skinny and fat at the same time. Your abs are skinny, your legs are skinny, your arms are skinny, and everything else looks like a plus size girl.
There's a lot of Brazilian joints that just be like, you look like a package of hot dogs. You know what I mean? And just like it's like, yo, I see, your waist is dumb small, but you talking about you squatting and you working out and nah, fam.
That's an issue when it comes to you trying to exploit people for money. Where it's like you don't have a clue as to how to work out properly.
Exactly.
But yet you're putting this false image up and saying like, oh, I got classes on these days if you want a body to look like mine.
Also, I feel like we've been talking a lot
about supplements and stuff too. Then they feeding the stuff to people and it's not going to work.
We've been talking a lot about women. Let's not forget. There's a lot of men out here who are doing a lot of body modifications.
Really?
There's fake abs.
There's fake abs.
Are you surprised?
I am.
Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised, but I want to speak about it just so our viewers understand we're not just talking about women.
Right.
Synthol. Like, well, okay, so growing up, I used to be I was always fit. I always played sports, yada, 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 but I was always a very skinny individual, right? I changed the way I worked out when I started doing martial arts like more and started working more in MMA. I wanted to like change weight classes. So I changed the way that I worked out. And I used to fluctuate between 160 and 180 pounds. I'm 6'2", right? As an adult.
That's pretty light.
Yeah, but I was always fit, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to change weight classes and I wanted to, just like compete with, bigger individuals.
Yeah.
So I literally changed how I worked out. And I was always a big eater. I went from fluctuating between 160 and 180 pounds to 245 pounds in like 6 months. Just off of changing the way that I worked out. All right? Lifting heavy, cool. People thought I was on steroids, right? I was like, wow. I think I'm on steroids? I thought it was, at first I was flattered because I never did steroids. But my thing is, there's people who are on steroids to change the way that they look. There's also in Brazil, this is something that's called synthol. It's very prevalent amongst men, and it's a toxic agent that if you inject in your muscles, it looks like you have muscles, but when people abuse it, you look deformed. You can tell. I can tell when somebody is juicing. I can tell when people are injecting synthol. There's a gentleman who he was known for having the biggest biceps in the world in the Guinness Book of World Records. Right? He was juicing, but the fact was he did have the biggest arms, but he was a steroid and a synthol abuser.
Wow. Yeah.
And his arm ruptured. It exploded. It exploded. And he had to like doctor himself in his bathroom. Disgusting shit. Now, there's a lot of men. Brazil is a country that is known for the aesthetics and how people look. There's a lot of.
Why do you think that is, though?
I don't know.
I want to know the why.
But there's also like I don't know. But Brazil they're into that,
and they're very colorist.
Yeah. I've never been to Brazil.
They're Brazilians that look like us.
Yeah, they are.
But that's not the representation of Brazil that we know,
That's,
I mean,
that goes for a lot of countries.
Once you understand white supremacy,
right,
everything else becomes clear, and you understand the whys. They're all the same.
Women
when I was in the military, no matter what port we went to, country or whatever, it was always the very same classifications and the very same problems that we're talking about here right now, and that some of us are in a position of luxury that you can even feel different about it. Like you have a luxury to be ignorant or to have a different opinion because it doesn't affect you the same way. Now you go to a country that may be a couple of 100 years behind America right now, everybody's on one accord because nobody has that luxury to feel different about it because they're just now on the cusp of the turn of their social classification. So we went in certain places, you would hear them speaking, no ghosts, meaning no whites.
They didn't want the white people there?
That's what that meant.
Okay.
You understand?
What countries? Give me an example.
Oh, man. Well, we went to Oh, when we had the riot in France. We had a riot. I remember we had the smack. Shout out to HP 507. You know what I mean? N Street.
Where did you go?
We're in France, right?
Oh.
So France. So we're in France. We're having smash sandwiches, right? Now, smash sandwich. Years later, after Marine Corps, whatnot, they call them. Y'all call them paninis or peenies or something like that. Yeah. But old school, my devil dogs, my leather necks, y'all know, with the French fries smashed up on the sandwich together. They put on the grill like a George Foreman grill and smash it down together, right? But long story short, now there was certain borders we wasn't supposed to go past or go by, right? I'm gonna tell you something. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Listening to, I like to call him my godfather, the Honorable Khalid Muhammad, right? He's a Muslim guy. And he said, everywhere he went, it's the same classification. And I didn't think about it. I think about it until after I got out of the Marine Corps years later. I would say like 2 years later. Well, anyway, they didn't know the language whatsoever. But the projects look the same. The hoods look the same. The situations and the conditions are identical. White supremacy is the same everywhere. You understand? They pop locking. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's go over here. Is that's sour? Let's pop it. We over there. We breaking the whole nine. We had a common duality. We had a bond. Couldn't even speak the language. Couldn't even speak the language. But the same struggle is recognized. You understand?
Yeah.
The exact same thing. And then you saw like the little girls, the young women, most beautiful black queens I ever seen in my life. It was super duper crazy. But there was prostitutes right outside the gate of the port. And majority of it will only service white guys. Now, but when we went past your limit, we weren't supposed to go like unfriendly territory, whatever like that. It was the hood. It was like home. It was like home, and it was very eye-opening. Very eye-opening.
So, but you were saying there were places where racism didn't exist.
I never said that.
Oh, I thought you said 200.
That sounds like Wakanda.
No, they were 200 years behind. They didn't know the difference between color.
No, I didn't.
Oh, that's what I was taking from what you were saying.
Oh, let me be very clear.
Oh, okay.
What I mean by that was like,
as far as slavery goes, it was very
no,
aligned.
No, what I mean by 200 years behind us, right? Like here in America, all right, okay, here in America, well, something about our elder told me. He said, brother, do not die of a stroke. He said, not even in National Geographic will you find a lioness licking the wounds of a trophy hunter or a white poacher that just killed a cub. Never. He said, you're going to war. Lioness are hunters anyway. You kill a cub? What? You're not gonna you're not gonna pet me. You're not gonna put a leash on me. You're not gonna walk me around.
Explain what that means.
I'm going into that right now. Now, what that means, now I asked him like, what National Geographic, what lines got to do with this, man? We out here dying. What the hell you talking about? He said, young man. He said, young man. He said, go into your neighborhood right now. What are your women doing? What's going on? He said, me and you mad, cussing at cops and Breaking Bad and getting hit upside your head, dying, and this, down, and third. He said, Malcolm X's birthday, how many women you see out there with roses with their head held down, crying or weeping, and this, down, and third? He said, a black man just got shot 52 times, broad daylight, Manhattan. He said, do you see anybody who is pro-interracial relationships saying, we gonna go on strike, no sex, until both sides come out, this, down, and third? He said, hell no. He said, hell no. He said, you'll never find out in National Geographic. He said, well, go amongst your own kind. You'll find somebody say, oh, standing over that dead black boy, oh, well, I don't see it like that. I see it differently. So when I say the luxury of it, 100 years behind, they're 100 years behind, meaning in mental warfare. You understand what I mean? If they're making any clear.
They're still in it.
They still have unity.
You brought. I remember you saying this to me earlier in the week, and the analogy that you, or not even an analogy, but the point that you brought up was like, yeah, somebody passed away, somebody was shot by the cops. one summer, and it was a
Oh,
very
yes.
it was a
Oh,
very public situation, and then later on that same week was the West Indian, the Caribbean Day Parade in Brooklyn, on Eastern Parkway, and because Country and I, we have discussions about this all the time, and there were women of color dancing with cops, you know what I mean? Like, it was nothing. Now
when you say dancing, you have to specify, because when you say dancing to me, before I knew what West Indian Day Parade was, when I saw it in person, is different than dancing.
Well, yeah, that's part of the culture.
Yeah.
It's
Very
part of the culture.
sexual,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But it's I understand what you're saying. But the point that you made was that, a black kid got killed. You know what I mean? Earlier in the week, and our society has become desensitized, almost ignorant to the fact, like, hey, can we stop and think what the ramifications for, or what that action.
I'm so sorry. I have to pause you right there. Not a pause, but
Not a
stop
pause,
you right there.
no.
Hold your thought. I want to correct something real quick. Not society, but a group of people. Because society does not act the same way when one of theirs are killed or murdered in any shape, form, or
I
fashion.
mean, aren't we part of the same society?
No, I have to disagree.
We are.
You disagree that there's not one society. There's different viewpoints in our society.
Yes, I
But
agree. with that.
I feel that we're all part of one society.
No, I do not agree.
I think I have to agree with you too on that.
You don't think that we're all the same society?
Absolutely not.
No.
I think.
I mean, because when you start to look at all the injustice, you know what I'm saying?
I agree
within
with
our
what you're saying.
community, It's kind of hard to look at it as one society.
I
In the
think you
sense of, go ahead.
I think you can acknowledge that there are people that are treated differently. Even when you read the book Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson, he talks about poverty, and in poverty, white people are included in that injustice too. Poor white people are included
Yes,
in that
but why? To me, it's like, okay, if there's
Injustice?
poor white
injustice
if
because
there's-
because it's about money at the end of the day. It's about consumerism and money. And
but
if
that
you're,
is their fault.
the white people who are poor is
So
their
like, the way
fault.
that I look at it, it's like those are two different types of being poor, right? And those
You're
are two
right.
different types of needing help, needing assistance,
You're
needing
right.
guidance, needing someone.
Yeah, I
or
agree with
being
you.
taught.
I agree with
I
you.
agree with
You know
that.
what I'm saying? So when I think of
there could be both though. Why can't they both exist in the same
no,
space?
because in this,
You have
it's
that
like
luxury.
you had a luxury that was not given to us. We at the end of the day do not have a safety net.
No.
There is nothing to catch us after that. You know what I'm saying?
agree.
Once we reach that level, there's nothing for us.
I agree with you, but you cannot make that statement as a blanket.
I
because
can
all
make
of
that
us
as a
in that-
blanket just
all
for
of
the fact
us-
that you were given an opportunity that you chose to ignore and do your own thing with. That's why I can say those are two different sides of the spectrum of being poor. And
But what do you think those white people who are poor and they haven't taken advantage of their opportunity? What do they say about black people who are the president of the United States and Oprah Winfrey?
One time.
No.
Let's not act like that's an unusual occurrence.
Exactly.
All
No,
of a
once
sudden-
we
But it
try,
happened.
but once
Actually
no,
twice.
because
Actually twice.
this is
What
the thing.
happened?
Once
Who,
we
Lincoln?
try,
No.
once we try to be on that same pinnacle of success and we start doing different things, some people's doors are closed shut.
You're right.
Absolutely.
I don't want to bring up the Bill Cosby thing, but when Bill Cosby
Bring
had
it up.
mentioned
Don't do it.
plans of owning NBC,
Don't do it.
what
Don't do
happened?
it.
Right.
Now all
All
of a
his
sudden,
stuff is
what are
coming
we
out.
going
Facts.
into?
You're right.
Now
Facts.
it's like something
right.
being brought out of the blue, where it's like, okay, wait a minute,
It's
what
not out the
happened?
blue. It had been happening,
Yes,
but you're right.
It
You're
has
right.
been happening,
came
but
to
it
the
had
light. They pulled their
resurfaced.
Facts.
cards.
Even
They
if
pulled
you
their
want to go
cards.
back to
You're
the
right.
Birth of a Nation with
Right.
Nate Parker.
Let's go. What they
Facts.
come
When
out
that movie
with?
came out,
Out of
Birth of a
nowhere.
Nation, which was one incredible how he used the same name, because that
Thank
other
you.
movie originally had a different concept.
did.
He turned it around and made it have another meaning. When that movie was about to come out, who was the one that had said all these allegations about him? It was who? Harvey Weinstein came out of nowhere.
Come on.
This
Because why?
motherfucker.
Come on.
Harvey Weinstein wanted to work with him. And he said, no, I actually do not need your help. I want to do this on my own. Things are starting to resurface from a case that was already closed.
Already closed.
Coming to light. When his sales came in for the movie that he shot, all of a sudden those were low numbers. Because even the black community started turning around and was like, wait a minute.
They was even turning people around at the theater saying that they wasn't showing it.
Exactly.
They was even going that far.
So we cannot talk about there being the same thing in terms of a white person being poor and a black person being poor.
Totally
At the end of the day, we can only climb but so high until all of a sudden we get pushed right back down.
And that's a prime example of what I meant by them being hundreds of years behind America. Like, a lot of us have the luxury to think about it or look at it totally different than what it is. Totally different. Like, you can have, do you know what strange fruit is?
Strange fruit?
Strange fruit.
No,
Yes.
what is that?
Strange fruit. My great grandfather, like, and I was telling your friend earlier, I was getting acquainted with her because I just got a certain different vibe with her, so I just started sharing certain things with her. Now, when my great grandfather told me what strange fruit, like, he remembered, like, strange fruit gets so ripe, they'll fall from the tree. I didn't know what he was meant. I was like, fruit, yeah, they're supposed to get right. They're supposed to fall. What are you talking about? I'm like, we got to get in pairs and stuff, this kind of thing, yada, yada, yada. But later on, I learned that strange fruit was actually black men hanging on trees. Yeah. So I started feeling different in Black History class and whatnot when they said, oh, they started this because Rosa Parks sit down. I'm like, niggas been getting hung and lynched and all this. You gonna tell me they started all this because a girl they want to get up?
First of all, that was all politically constructed
and
as well.
orchestrated.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what
they don't
made-
tell the kids in
That's-
school that.
that's
It's like,
what
oh,
made
she
me
didn't want to
research.
get
Yeah.
up. It's like,
That's
no.
right.
That's
That's
like,
right.
oh, this one young lady decided one day that she would actually stand up for herself, and it happened, and it started the revolution. It's like, no, she was part of the movement.
Right. She was part of that.
Yes, absolutely. She was part of it. Part of it. Part of it. You understand? But the whole thing is not doing your research, not looking into things.
Listen.
100%.
I still stand by. I refuse to allow. I know I'm gonna stay
You
on my
refuse
box.
to allow what happened?
I refuse to allow. There's truth. There's truth, and there's, we talk about. I remember one time I was complaining about the fact that I wish I would have learned more construction from my dad. Like, my dad did construction, and if I was a boy, I knew for a fact that I would know more. You know, but I mean, it goes to say I know how to use power tools. I own a set. And I probably know more than the average girl is expected to know. And I think as a human and a black person, I think I had to come to the realization that, Ayoola, the dude was like, well, you grown now, so you can't complain about what your dad didn't teach you. You know what I mean? You go out and seek it for yourself. And I think for the same thing as being a black person in America, I've experienced and seen injustice in the ways that people of power will try to put me down. Do I allow that to stop me in my tracks and say, well, it is the way it is? Or do I continue to manufacture my life with my skills and my talent so that I can take advantage of what I have, my God-given passion?
Now, I'm not saying that this should at any way be a hindrance, but at the end of the day, it's something that was kind of like installed in our minds, where it was like, you can only do but so much. We will only allow you to do X, Y, and Z. There's certain things we're not going to teach you. You're not going to read because power is in this book.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
So it's like,
that's true.
Coming out of that mindset is a generational thing.
You're right.
And
for poor white people, that was not a mindset. That was not a generational thing. You had tools. They knew economics. They knew how to do certain things financially that can prosper, that can make them prosper. We did not have that. That was not afforded to us. That was not given to us. Therefore, there were some of us that had to take it and learn beyond our means, and therefore try to educate the rest of the community.
Shit.
But how do you educate a community that's still stuck in being mentally enslaved?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it starts with the words that we use, and I refuse to stop. In a sense, in the same way that man was like, you stop using it as an excuse. We have to stop thinking about it as a reason to be to not go out for that job because I'm gonna be the only black person there. You know
Nobody's
what I mean?
saying do that. Nobody's saying do that. Nobody's saying do that. But to educate yourself, educate yourself to not speak on a problem. How do you educate somebody about something that's happened if you don't speak on it? You have to speak on it. You have to speak on
it and then empower. And I think that then empower is missing. But I appreciate the fact that we're having this conversation because we are educating and empowering.
100%.
Yeah.
Because we are saying that if there's a continuum, but if we continue to go to the far reaches and the end of that we lose ourselves.
There just has to be a better sense of, like we talked about before early on, is a better sense of community. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
not trying to constantly be in competition with one another. And grow from what we're learning and be able to spread that knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
And appreciate diversity in a sense within our community.
Exactly. And even like with Nipsey Hussle, prime example of like spreading that knowledge. But at the end of the day, it's still trying to figure out how can we as a whole, as a community, just get over the mental, you know what I'm saying, enslavement. How can we break that to get you to see that there's more?
How can we, by having podcasts like this, having conversations like this, people have to learn. People have to understand. Like, we are, like, it's funny to me because certain people think like a podcast like this, they're too militant, they're pro-black. No! We're pro-life, like, you have to understand there's differences between every ethnic group, and the differences make up this world.
Should be celebrated.
Understanding each other is the beginning.
Right.
That's what people don't understand. Like, my white brothers out there, listen to me when I say, understand, we just have a lot of differences. Our mindsets are different because we've gone through certain things that you guys have not. You guys have no idea. That doesn't mean we don't love you and we don't want you to love us, but you have to understand, we, in this country, particularly people of color, have had a very rough history. It's just what it is. And it's affected us so much, from people that are dark-skinned, light-skinned. They've made it a point to separate us.
And we're kind of using it within our own community to keep each other down because we're trying to get up with that crab in a barrel mentality.
Right.
And it's so unnecessary. And I think a point that you made is the competition is a big part of it. You like women especially are so competitive. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, this and the other. And it's just like, why can't you just be like, yo, we got the same dress on. You look amazing.
Exactly.
Like, it looks better on you.
It's facts. You're right. Like, Country and I've known this guy for some time now. He's an alpha male. I'm an alpha male. Dope. He's different. I'm different. We're different from each other. We're similar in certain ways. Right. But at the end of the day, I respect that man.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that man. He's got totally different. He has totally different. He was raised different than me.
Perspective.
His totally different perspective than me. But I understand where he's coming from, but I didn't understand where he was coming from right away.
Not at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I had to say, hey, okay, let me learn.
Right.
Oh, okay. I was willing to understand.
Yeah.
I was open-minded.
You have to be.
And that goes for within our community, too, being open-minded.
But another thing you have to realize is, like you put on, too, that was instilled in us through slavery, something else that was also instilled in us that we have to overcome and battle with, too, and that's fear. A lot of us who are awake pretend to be asleep because of the fear that was instilled in us. Now, something that they did to us, to African Americans, that they did to the white people and whatnot, they understood that when the black woman, when she was pregnant, they had her and made her sit down and watch the alpha males who always only fought for freedom and only cared for that, just to fight for freedom, period. Not looking at Jack, fighting for freedom. They straight killed him in front of her and forced her to watch. Now, to tie him, his hands and feet separately to horses, then tar him and feather him, then set him on fire, and then whip for the two horses and to have him ripped apart in front of his pregnant wife. So therefore, the fear that she sees is instilled into the baby, into the child. You understand?
It's like an energy.
All of this stuff is instilled in us. A lot of us, and then you had women who were raising their children, their males, to take the back seat and then push their daughters forward. They're making it type A male and type B male, but that's a whole different thing for a whole different podcast. But if you understand science and how you treat species or animals, if you treat a certain species a certain way through a traumatic current events for at least, 50 years, it puts a scar on the cell membrane, and it becomes as an innate trait. Now, and then you pass,
which is why we are here the way we are right now.
You understand what I'm saying?
100% facts.
You understand? So you see these different personality and characteristics that we play out, and it's all characteristics that we was taught. That was put on us through slavery.
Yeah, you brought up Nipsey Hussle, and it is a prime example of it's like a representation of the stereotype of our community. You have someone who's trying to make it, trying to get out, trying to transition, and jealousy, which is a very negative characteristic of competition.
I mean, people even went as far to say that it was a conspiracy theory on why they think that happened in the first place.
I'm not totally ruling that out. I'm not totally ruling that out. Real talk.
Yeah, true.
I'm not totally, because that's something we'll speak on another time, but I'm not totally ruling that out either. Because when certain people, not for nothing, Dr. Sebi was a very powerful individual, and Nipsey was very vocal about how he was trying to work on that documentary. A good friend of mine, Mr. G, shout out to Mr. G, is working on that documentary. He was working on it with Nipsey.
Oh, salute to you, King.
No, and now, after the fact, Nick Cannon has reached out to Mr. G. Mr. G was Dr. Sebi's videographer. He traveled with Dr. Sebi everywhere.
That's dope.
So now,
That's dope.
they, in my opinion, another conspiracy theory, they ended Dr. Sebi's life. I don't think he died of natural causes.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. To us, I agree with you, but that's still our opinion. But that's another episode. Right. But Nipsey was a person who was vocal about his support of that documentary.
And even financially, what he was doing financially, how other people can kind of gain that as well with certain like business ideas and ventures that he even expressed to his community too.
100%. It's people, they fear that. An intellectual, an intelligent individual of color who not only can speak to the hierarchy of a certain genre or a certain ethnic group, but also he can be in the streets and like, wow, this dude is multifaceted.
Absolutely. It's that certain type
Listen,
of
guys,
intelligent
I'm going to say this. This has been another incredible episode of the Culture Society. I thank the whole cast for being here today. Our special guest, Melissa Q, thank you so much for being here today as well.
Thank
You're
you.
strong with the opinion, but I already knew.
I already knew. I really do.
You know what I mean? Michael Wright, Country Time, always. Ayoola, always a pleasure. It's Marco Glorious. This is the Culture Society. We're signing out.
Bye-bye.